What is up? What is up, YouTube? This is part 2 of the Rotten Mango, man. Before we get started, hey, I want to thank everybody, man. All the comment sections. Shout out to the comment section. Shout out to my Patreons. We pushing our Patreon. Become a Patreon. Help support the channel. This is part 2, man. The same day. I just changed hats. Look, I changed the hat. I didn't take a shower or anything. But anyway, check it out, man. The comments, man, when y'all leave comments and say what's up to Uncle Mike and let me know if I'm doing a good job or whatever, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Brother needs that sometimes, man. If you really think I like the videos, I like the quality of we work hard to get the microphone to sound great. And well, I'm in the Philippines right now. I got my traveling mic. This is a backup mic, so you can't go by this quality of sound. I'm doing the best I can, but it means a lot because sometimes I'm sitting here saying, should I talk or should I be quiet? Should I don't know what to do sometimes, you know. So you talk too much, you know. Oh man, this is hard, man. It's what the fight through. Ooh, people asking for 𝗟𝗡𝗞𝗡s, and I see a new 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗡 that may be coming up, so we're gonna be rocking that next. But anyway, this is part 2. I spent 8 hours in the courtroom with Diddy. Leave me a comment, man. I appreciate it, man. People are talking about the intro. I don't know if they're gonna put the intro on here because this is an hour long. Most of the time when the videos are kind of too short, we add the intro to it. So and thank everybody, man. It took 3 months to shoot and edit and put that intro together with me doing the music. I had to write the lyrics. I spit, y'all. I rapped the vocals and wrote this. I did everything myself. Did the music. I had to produce the music, mix and master the music, and make the music go along with the video, all that stuff, man. And that people really like it. Let me know that they like my production, man. I'm a producer. I can produce some real stuff, but it takes time to produce stuff, man. It takes time when you do work on a song from beginning to end. It's like, I can't wait till it come out. Now it's old. Anyway, so y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and Uncle Mike thanks you and really appreciate y'all for all y'all got to do is watch, leave a comment, hit a thumbs up, share the videos and stuff, man, and I appreciate it. I'm watching the comments, man. I see a lot of y'all comments. It's hard we dropping 6-7 videos a day, man, on 2 different channels. Do Uncle Mike a favor, man. Go to the Music Recording Network stream. Go to the YouTube search and search the Music Recording Network stream. For some reason that channel's not coming up. If you scroll down and you don't see the stream channel, it's the world. It's written in yellow that says stream, written in yellow. If you don't see that, then use the @ sign, and put the Music Recording Network stream all together. The Music Recording Network stream, then it'll come up. So we trying to get the second channel to actually show up in the daggone search engines, man. It ain't showing up. So I just want to put that out there, and I thank y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all so much, man. I ain't trying to hurt nobody. I'm real, baby. I'm real. I'm real deal Holyfield. You know, I ain't done nothing to nobody. Ain't had it coming to them. So hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. I'm really into this, man, because I can't believe I wanted to be like this dude. I studied out my whole reason for living in the music field was to be like the Bad Boy team. So y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Let's continue this bad boy. Let's check it out. Here we go, man. Let's back up a little bit also. Here we go.
She has a very laid-back politeness about her, to which Linda Moreno once said, "I had to be polite but not shy to get things done. I also
they talking about jury selection.
had to pay close attention to what people said." Another person says her instincts, her ability to read people, I mean, it has a lot to do with a lot of the great outcomes that attorneys will have if she's on their team. She was born a lawyer. No, I'm serious. So for her 12th birthday, Linda Moreno said that she received her favorite movie, which was 12 Angry Men, which is about jury deliberations in a murder case. Another colleague says, if anyone can figure out the jury, it's going to be Linda. It is also believed that she never has more than one client at a time. A lot of attorneys will have multiple clients at a time. She says that she likes to solely focus on just one case, and that's it. It is believed, this is not public information, so we don't know, it's believed that someone like Linda Moreno would charge Diddy around $1 million for her services to be a jury consultant. Others argue it's probably going to be a lot more than that. One person who worked with Linda says, what strikes me about her is her complete dedication to her clients, which continues to this day. Now, this is not something that Linda Moreno has said, but from our research, because I was so intrigued about like the different models, some attorneys will use their own model. It seems like most attorneys, at least from what I can gather on like subreddits where attorneys are talking about jury selection, they have their own unique model that they tweak depending on the charges of the case and depending on that specific defendant. But they all have some sort of tailored to them model that they like to categorize potential jurors. So these are very basic, probably dumb models, but I thought it was intriguing. So one model is the 3 categories of good juror, poison juror, and go with the flower juror. One attorney says, typically it's fairly simple to spot good jurors. You just say a joke and they'll laugh or they'll give you eye contact, they'll nod, they'll do the smile. They're eagerly, not too eager, but just very happy to fulfill their civic duty. They're doing their best. Those are the good jurors. Then you have the poison jurors. These are typically cynical, they get agitated easily, and they like to be silent most of the time. That's what's dangerous because they fly under the radar. Then you have go with the flowers. Quiet. Initially, they have indifferent opinions and are open to listening to the evidence. So clearly in this model, you want to identify and remove the jurors that are poison. Another model some attorneys say they like to use is the leadership authority model, classifying and dividing jurors based on their influence and decision-making approach. So there's 3 categorizations, or at least this model does. Leaders, so jurors who influence others during deliberations, they're going to be in the back rooms like, no, guys, look at this. They have strong personalities. They can sway the opinions of other jurors. And then you have authoritarians. In criminal trials, authoritarians typically favor the prosecutors. It's not a bad thing. It's just who they are. So the defense are going to want them out of the jury. Typically, they prefer police. They like authority figures. They have high respect for authority figures. They're not sitting there like, oh, yeah, I love the police, but it's just in them. It's like an innate bias. Some people just respond better to authority figures than others. They often hold more conservative views on crime and punishment as well. Then you've got the followers, jurors who tend to be influenced by the stronger personalities and opinions in the jury room. They rarely take strong positions independently. Some attorneys will even further categorize and say, you need a 4th category in there. You need negotiators. They are so important. These people, they're not really the leaders, which are like, no, I think this. And then people are arguing. They're the peacekeepers. They facilitate negotiations. They keep peace by analyzing and verbalizing the issues. Then there's another model that instead of 3, they've got 4 classifications. You have traditionalist. So these are jurors that they like structure, they like established institutions. They typically naturally seem slightly unknowingly, probably even to themselves, in favor of the prosecutors. Then there's experiencers. They're very practical, they're present focused. They like to evaluate the evidence rather than debate abstract concepts of guilt and remorse and principles and values. Then you have the conceptualizers. They are thinkers who are not naturally empathetic. They seem less swayed by emotional appeals. And then lastly, you've got the idealists. More empathetic, more focused on human impact rather than the evidence. They're way more receptive to considering a defendant's circumstances. Typically, it's said defense attorneys like influential leaders with a skepticism towards authority. They exhibit natural leadership qualities, but they don't like institutional power structures. As for the temperament-based model, defense attorneys say they might prefer idealists. They're empathy-driven, especially if your client has mental health that's going to be coming into it, a mental illness or some sort of dire situation that they're trying to argue is for the case. They're empathy driven. And then people that are super analytical, some defense attorneys like them because the burden of proof is on the government. So these people, they demand logical consistency in the prosecutor's arguments. They have high standard for the prosecutors. They identify flaws in forensic evidence chains, logical gaps in timeline reconstructions, overreach in expert testimony. They're very analytical. So all of this makes sense. But according to some attorneys, the absolute worst type of juror that you can have is a stealth juror. Stealth jurors deliberately conceal bias to infiltrate the jury. Usually you can tell when they have inconsistencies in their answers, their written questionnaire, their responses versus what they tell the judge during their individual questioning, they don't match. Or sometimes they try to overcompensate and really sell themselves as being impartial. Usually stealth jurors, they have different motivations. Financial gain, media deals, book deals after the trial, ideological, maybe they have a personal vendetta, or just a lot of the times it's thrill seeking, especially for high profile cases. To just be like, I was part of that. One attorney states, stealth jurors pose catastrophic risk through undetected bias injection. Their influence persists throughout trial stages, often discovered only through post-verdict interviews. With that being said, I'm clearly not knowledgeable enough to know if any juror was a potential stealth juror, but there were some intriguing moments. Publishing houses have what's called a slush pile. It's like usually the big publishing houses. There's 5 big publishing houses in the US that dominate 80% of the market. They have a slush pile. It's a collection of unsolicited manuscripts sent to them by people seeking to get their wonderful book published. And it's a slush. People will open up a manuscript, read one page. If they don't like it, it goes into the slush pile. It's not getting published. Because in the world of publishing books, it's that cutthroat. A female juror is sitting next to the judge, and she has a high position at the publishing house, Simon & Schuster. She says, we publish lots of books, 2,000 books a year, and one book we are publishing in the fall is by another hip-hop artist. And I know that that book contains some information or some accusations. I haven't read the book. I probably won't be working on the book directly, but my office reviews all the press releases that go out, and I saw the press release after I filled out this questionnaire. So she's asked, like, did you find out anything else about the defendant or the case or anything related after you filled out this questionnaire?
I wrote a book also. That reminds me, I got to get my book up and running and everything. Right now, you can download. I wrote a book about my true feelings about running a YouTube channel, starting, being frustrated on how I can't find the right answers, and I'm trying this, I'm trying that, and how to go about attacking becoming a successful YouTuber. I mean, it took me a long time to figure this stuff out, man. And I figured out, I got like my top 5 things that you should concentrate on when you start a YouTube channel. And you got to make this work in order to be successful. And one of the things is uploading consistently. You got to be able to upload consistently, period. Even if it's once a week, you consistent at uploading once a week, make it consistent. That's it. That's the number one main thing that YouTube will show favor to your YouTube channel if you stay consistent.
Mm-hmm. And what is the book? And what book is that? It's a memoir by another artist whom I don't know. I don't remember the name of the author. I think it's called Do You Believe Me Now or something like that. And it's about his personal history. And I know it contains some accusations. A male artist. Yes. And you don't remember the name? No. She states she doesn't remember the name, just the press release. She explains, I saw the press release because my office, we review all the press releases, our different prints sent out to the media. So that's just one of my roles, is to kind of vet all the press releases. All right, now what did the press release say? Just that it was an announcement that the book is publishing in the fall and sort of different topics it touches on, and this was one of the topics. And what did it say pertaining to this case? If you can remember in your mind, what did it say? I think the point, or what the press release is alluding to, is that this other artist has been accusing the defendant here for a while and hadn't been believed. That is what I took from the press release. Now, do you know anything else about the book? No. The judge asks her, considering she works in a company that's publishing a book written by someone making accusations, would it cloud her view in the case? She says, no, I also would be very unlikely to read the book because I work on the executive team. I don't really get that involved on individual books. But it's tricky because she's salaried, so her bonus is tied to the company performance, the general company performance, which means her bonus is tied to the performance of all the thousands of books they publish, including the book written by I'll Be Sure about Diddy. I think the list of people who really do not like Diddy would be comparable to a CVS receipt times 10. It's a long list, but I do feel like at the top, it's going to be 50 Cent and potentially, yeah, definitely, I'll be sure. Now, just to recap, Diddy has 7 children. The first is Quincy Brown, but Quincy is not Diddy's biological son. He is Kim Porter and Al B. Sure's biological child. It is believed that Diddy adopted Quincy. However, recently Al B. Sure states in a documentary, there's no adoption. And if you haven't noticed, his last name is still Brown. Take that how you will. I have no idea which one is true. But there's Quincy, the oldest. Then there's Justin Dior Combs. He's Diddy and Misa Hilton's son. Then there's Christian Combs, Diddy and Kim Porter's first biological child together. Chance Combs.
Oh, see, it's too much information. Hey, man.
Quincy,
Look,
the
look,
oldest.
look.
Then there's Justin Dior Combs.
I thought that was Kim Porter's baby. I thought his mother was Kim Porter, to rest in peace. See, Uncle Mike was wrong, man. I get information wrong, but I'm glad. I love it when I learn something.
He's Diddy and Misa Hilton's son.
See, I didn't know that. I don't know this lady. I thought that was the aunt or the mother. She looked like the aunt or the mother. This is a younger generation, man. Just pictures. Come on, Uncle Mike, get your stuff together. I don't know, y'all.
And if you haven't noticed, his last name is still Brown. Take that how you will. I have no idea which one is true. But there's Quincy, the oldest. Then there's Justin Dior Combs. He's Diddy and Misa Hilton's son.
Okay.
Then there's Christian Combs, Diddy and Kim Porter's first biological.
Now, he looks like Kim Porter. He looks like Diddy and Kim Porter. This guy right here. And I hate to say it, little man, but you kind of work my nerves a little bit. I don't know what it is. You walk around like you deserve to be who you are. You walk around like you better than other people. To me, he kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I need to research. Well, I'm gonna do it on the other channel, man, on the Music Recording Network stream. I'm gonna do a whole breakdown of my man, and I don't. Here's the thing: I don't blame him. I don't blame him because he was born into this, and because of his parents, he wasn't taught well. But I know one damn thing: if my mama was rest in peace and passed away, and everybody's pointing the finger at my father, I will have to do some investigation. Damn, Dad, it's so many people saying you did this, that, and the third. It's too many people saying you did all this stuff. So I'm trying to figure out, did you do it? Dang. Hit me, man. Hit me, and let me know.
Child together. Chance Combs, Diddy and Sarah
Oh, I forgot about the girls, y'all. Here we go.
Al B. Sure states in a documentary, there's no adoption. And if you haven't noticed, his last name is still Brown. Take that how you will. I have no idea which one is true. But there's Quincy, the oldest. Then there's Justin Dior Combs. He's Diddy and Misa Hilton's son. Then there's Christian Combs, Diddy and Kim Porter's first biological child together. Chance Combs, Diddy and Sarah Chapman's daughter. And then Delilah and Jesse Combs, the twins, Diddy and Kim Porter's twin daughters. And in 2022, Diddy child together. Chance Combs, Diddy and Sarah Chapman.
Jesus, girl. Oh my God, boy, this gets. See, I'm tell you what. Never mind. That's something different. Let's go.
Chapman's daughter, and then Delilah and Jesse.
Man, hold on for a minute. All you gotta do is close the door. Man. All you gotta do is close the door. You don't never close the door right. No. Yes. That little hole. Y'all there you go. No, that's noodles. Noodles is not. Oh my God. I'm sorry, y'all. She always trying to feed me. I don't want food. I want water and Red Horse. I'm sorry, y'all. Wait. Sometimes.
Water or Red Horse?
Nothing. Water. No Red Horse. No Red Horse. Look. Okay, she closed the door right that time. Back to the kids.
Misa Hilton's son. Then there's Christian Combs, Diddy and Kim Porter's first biological child together. Chance Combs, Diddy and Sarah Chapman's daughter. And then Delilah and Jesse Combs, the twins. Diddy and Kim Porter's twins.
They are beautiful. They are drop dead gorgeous beautiful, man. They can write their own ticket, man. They can bring the whole family back. Them two right there. And they twins, good God Almighty, baby. And I'm not saying that in a sexual way, man. I'm 59. Get your head out the gutter. They just pretty little kids, you know. And I think that they can put something together to become models, role models. They could be role models for other kids. These two. I always look at them and say they got it.
Twin daughters. And in 2022, Diddy had another baby, Love, with Dana Tran. So that baby's an infant. And all you need to remember at this point is that 𝗟𝗡𝗡 is Quincy's biological dad, and Kim Porter, the mother of many of Diddy's children, and Quincy's mother, is a longtime partner of Diddy, but also was married to 𝗟𝗡𝗡 before dating Diddy. So Kim Porter and 𝗟𝗡𝗡 are married. They have Quincy. Kim Porter, they break up. Kim Porter starts dating Diddy. They go on to have multiple children together, and Diddy was very involved in Quincy's life.
Yes.
Now, after Kim Porter mysteriously passed away from pneumonia, that's how people think she passed away, mysteriously, there were all sorts of rumors flying around. Again, conspiracies, we don't know, right? That maybe she didn't die from pneumonia. Maybe she was writing a tell-all book about her relationship with Diddy, and she was done with Diddy and she wanted to be set free. Again, conspiracies, but after she passes away, 𝗟𝗡𝗡 is very suspicious of Diddy. He even slips into a coma at one point, and he kind of insinuates that perhaps Diddy had something to do with him being in a coma. 𝗟𝗡𝗡 went on to allege that Kim Porter confided in him before passing away, and he says, she started to confide in me. What she did say is that something's not right. Diddy's soul has gone completely dark. Like, he's just not there. That's what he alleges was said. He does allege that Kim Porter was writing a book, but nothing was done about it, saying someone got her passcode to her phone and her computer, and they found out, and she was writing what was going on behind closed doors. The public had no idea what was happening right in front of everybody's eyes, but there were a lot of people who turned a blind eye. In the documentary Making of a Bad Boy, the very documentary that Diddy is suing NBC for $100 million in a defamation lawsuit, in that documentary, 𝗟𝗡𝗡 says, it was like 2 or 3 weeks prior to her murder. Am I supposed to say allegedly?
Oh, he just straight up said murder.
So all that's to say, the water is very deep between Diddy and 𝗟𝗡𝗡, and the potential juror works as a high-level executive at the publishing house that's going to be releasing 𝗟𝗡𝗡's book. The blurb for the book says, "Tell all," in this inspiring survivor's memoir that reveals the untold story of his near-death health emergency, shocking ties to Diddy, romance with late Kim Porter, days after Homeland Security raided Sean Combs' compounds in a federal sex trafficking investigation, 𝗟𝗡𝗡 declared that when people heard how he wound up in a coma 2 years later, they were, quote, really going to need to call Homeland Security.
So the book is not out yet?
No. Yeah.
So she's saying that, okay, we're publishing this book. I don't know anything about it. I don't care. I'm not going to read it.
Yeah.
And I am qualified.
Yes, but I don't think she's like overly eager.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think a lot of people can interpret it different ways. So I don't want to put an interpretation out there because, but you could, I guess, some cynical people could say she wants to maybe write a book after. She's in publishing. Maybe she wants to write a book. Maybe she wants the thrill. Maybe it's fun, right? Maybe she wants to take off work. No.
Or just simply the fact that the connection is crazy.
Yes. Or maybe some people are like, maybe she genuinely doesn't care about any of these people and like in her head does not understand why it relates.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't care about any of these people, so obviously I can be unbiased.
Mm-hmm.
But the blurb is kind of crazy. The blurb continues. People called him crazy. Now back from the brink of death, he reclaims his power and truth in this incredible memoir about finding inner peace despite countless attempts to break him. The last lines of the blurb read, I'll be sure is one of the few still living to tell the whole story. Which, I'm not insinuating anything, but that just feels like a bad sentence to even utter into existence whilst publishing a reportedly explosive memoir, which is going to be titled, Do You Believe Me Now? It just feels like an unnecessary potential jinxing. Regardless of how one feels about Al B. Sure or the death of Kim Porter or Diddy, it probably would not provide Diddy a fair trial if this juror were on the jury. Why do we care if Diddy gets a fair trial? Because if he doesn't get a fair trial, the conviction could be overturned, if there is one. And everyone should be entitled to a fair trial. So yes, justice, but also it's like, if you genuinely want justice, you need a fair trial.
Yeah.
She is ultimately excluded from the jury. Now, please keep in mind, anything I say in the entirety of this episode, especially right now, is a personal opinion. I've had a lot of personal opinions, great ones and some bad ones. But whatever I say does not mean, oh, this action means he's doing this. Like, for example, there will be some days where I feel incredibly insecure about the way that I look and I start spiraling. And maybe in a video, I touch my hair because I feel ugly. But someone will comment, look at this narcissist. She's obsessed with herself. It's like a very different interpretation. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. So just take it like that. I don't know. This is just what I saw and how I personally interpreted what I saw visually with my eyeballs.
Facts, baby. Facts. Do your thing, girl. Don't worry about it. F them. Them people don't know you. They don't know.
A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit.
You just got to look past that. You got to look past that. What he just said. You got to look past that stuff.
With that being said, I personally felt like Diddy was kind of an iPad kid during moments of the trial. He was given an iPad by his attorneys to look at, specifically related to the case. It's just interesting. He has reading glasses and he will put them on kind of randomly. I don't know if there's a method to it. I don't know. Maybe he is reading something and I just can't see it because he's further away. But it just seemed a little random. Sometimes they'd be on, sometimes they'd be off. So the first day, the researchers were like, they'd be on and then they'd be off at random times.
Because he acting. That's when you know somebody's acting. Just be yourself, man. If you need reading glasses to read, then read. If you're not reading nothing, don't look down and act like you're reading. Acting. This is the number one key word when you studying people. Some people acting. Some people are actors, man. And that's what the problem is. Once you stop acting and just be yourself. Just be yourself, baby. Oh, my bad. I started off wrong. Just be yourself, man. Who cares? If you mess up, embrace your mistakes. Embrace them. I'm giving y'all the keys to success. That's what Uncle Mike does. I just give you the keys to success. Am I the greatest? Nope. Never will be. And I embrace that.
Something and I just can't see it because he's further away, but it just seemed a little random. Sometimes they'd be on, sometimes they'd be off. So the first day, the researchers were like, they'd be on and then they'd be off at random times, to the point where we're like, we don't even know if there's a prescription in these, if these are even reading glasses. And then he would always put them on the desk, put them back on, put them on the desk, put them back on. It was a very feeling is how they felt. It was, do I feel like I want to put my glasses on? And then the second day, he started putting them up on the top of his head and then putting them down, putting them at the top. Maybe we're overanalyzing absolutely nothing. But the way that Brian Steele would kind of tippy tap on the iPad next to him gave iPad kid, there's this fascinating moment on day.
They call him the iPad kid, y'all. You know why? This is why.
A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit.
Look. When I get back to the studio, I got a boss machine, man. I'm going to let y'all know this. I got a boss machine.
This incredible mold remover gel can restore...
A bullshit.
That's that bull.
A bullshit. A bullshit.
Yeah, my bad.
Bullshit.
I clicked the wrong button by accident. Anyway, man, who takes over? Anyway, let's continue, man. Let's continue. Here we go.
Day 1 of trial, the very first day that jury selection begins, right before the jurors come in. At this point, it's just the judge, the court personnel, defense team, the prosecutors, and members of the press. The jurors are about to walk in that door. My researcher was like, Brian Steele reaches over, beep boop bops on the iPad. Beep boop bop. Front camera turns on, and they just see Diddy on the iPad because it's the camera. The front camera's turning on. Like a mirror, and he's wearing his reading glasses. And then Diddy proceeds to lift the iPad up 4 or 5 inches and looks at himself before putting it down. There's nothing deep about it. I'm sure he's just trying to make sure nothing's on his face for when the jurors actually come in. But they said it was so weird.
It's a fascinating visual.
Yeah, like Brian Steele is older than Diddy, but he's over there beep-boop bopping on the iPad for Diddy. It was weird.
Or maybe...
and then more cynically, I guess you could say, maybe this is all a thing. Make Diddy seem like a clueless, I don't know what's going on. Can you help me? I'm kind of lost, and all these powerful attorneys know so much. Diminish some of his power. I don't know. In another part, this was, I saw this. Brian Steele is putting on his blazer. So sometimes he would just be in his dress shirt, and then he's putting on his blazer. And there's a little fuss about it. And Diddy is just all hands on board, helping him put his blazer on with both hands. So he's got his hand on the back of the collar for Brian Steele. His left hand is on Brian Steele's like neck area. And then his right hand is reaching over around Brian Steele's neck in the front to fix the collar. Now, can I just say something? I've never seen a man have trouble putting on a suit blazer. I don't even think that my own tailoring a shirt would be this. It was a lot. It wasn't even just like, let me fix your collar.
Yeah, like blazer is a pretty easy
collar fix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It just
too.
was a lot of effort, just like a lot of.
So it does. Okay, I see what you mean. Like it does seem like they have a very close relationship from the visual.
This is my speculation. I don't know if it's true. I don't know what goes on in other people's minds. I feel like this is a thing that happens during trials. I think both of them are aware of what makes the defendant look good, and they both want the same outcome. And maybe they haven't had a conversation about it, but it seems like they both kind of play into it, is the feeling I get.
So were there jurors, or is it just the press?
I think at this point there were no jurors when he was putting on his.
Okay. But even for the media, it's like it's a visual that seems very, maybe somewhat positive.
Yeah, maybe he's like helpful fixing Brian Steele's. It just, I guess I've never seen someone need help fixing their suit blazer.
Yeah.
Because people put on suit blazers all the time, on and off.
Yeah.
And there is this one yawn where Diddy is standing up, the court had to rise, and he yawns, but he doesn't cover his mouth. So for like a fraction of a second, it just looks like he's silently screaming. And that was really, another fascinating part that I noticed. And again, this could be coincidence. I could be looking too deep into things. I could have a personal bias that makes me interpret these movements as something that it is completely not. It's an eyewitness testimony. It's questionable, especially in my brain after 8 hours of sitting in there. But there's this moment where I recall seeing the sketch artist. She is in the first row, diagonal from Diddy, behind. And we're all the way behind her. Now, she has one of those binoculars that she wears. It's strapped to her head like a brain surgeon. She's wearing that. And she's mid-stroke with her charcoal. And Diddy, from my perspective, looks like he briefly glances back. He doesn't shift. He doesn't turn. He just kind of sees in his peripheral. I think he sees in his peripheral. Maybe he doesn't see her. But this is all coincidence. Maybe I'm hallucinating. But it's almost like immediately after, he turns back to face the front. He takes off his reading glasses and his shoulders roll back. And he sits a tiny bit straighter. It's not super obvious. It's not like suddenly his back is erect and his posture is 10 out of 10. But it did seem a little coincidental.
Like, let me sit better for this portrait.
Yes.
Like, make sure that they pay me better.
Yeah.
Type of energy.
Yes. Now, other moments with jurors that were maybe slightly uncomfortable in the courtroom, I'm just going to pull them out rapid fire. One juror is asked about, in response to question 13, you indicated that you had a prior criminal issue, which is that you were caught shoplifting at the age of 16. How old are you now? 30. Okay. And you say you were charged a fine, and just generally speaking, what happened? I was at Universal Studios, caught by security taking an item. I think I was in Harry Potter World. So they took me to the back and just kind of like put me through all the process, and then I was mailed a fine. I got a lawyer. My lawyer handled everything, so I was it was just a fine, and they put against me, and I was prohibited from going back to the park for about a year. And what is it? What did you take? A wand. Okay. So let's go to question 29. The question is, have you communicated to others or posted your opinion on social media or online or liked any social media posts about Mr. Combs? And you initially wrote no, and then you changed your answer to unsure. Yeah. So what did you like? I think it was a comedian. They made a joke because I guess when they went to his house, they found a bunch of baby oil. I remember liking it because I thought it was funny. That was really it. So there was a joke about baby oil, and you said you liked that comment. Yeah. What was the reason why you liked that comment? It's funny, in my opinion. So I liked the video because I thought it was funny. Do you remember who the comedian was? Not off the top of my head. Another juror walks in and she says that her musical interests are rock, hip hop, and as well as, quote, I'm actively watching the concert of the group called BTS or Bangtan Boys. There was nothing else notable. I just wanted to say that. Now, the next juror walks in and he looks, from my opinion, kind of like a fraternity boy, but slightly sleazier. And I say that with respect. Like, this is visually speaking, because I don't know this man. He looks like the type of guy that would graduate college and 10 years later still heavily rep his college fraternity merchandise and want to talk about how he was the coolest big to his little and still go in depth about Rush Week stories. That's the personal opinion vibe I get from him. He asks the judge a question. So number 11, I wasn't sure about allegations concerning distribution and use of illegal drugs. So I smoke marijuana personally for recreational use. Okay. And I'm not sure if that counts. So the question is asking, are you okay? Can you be unbiased if we talk about illegal drug usage? Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, I smoke. Mm-hmm. And there's a slight giggle in the courtroom and the judge tells him, well, I wasn't asking about your use. Okay. But are you going to have any issues if there are allegations in this case about the distribution and use of drugs? Is that going to make you biased? No. The juror, to his very fine credit, he's incredibly honest, which I think is admirable. He basically states that he might have affected judgment, though, if he's on the jury. I use marijuana for personal recreational use, which might affect my judgment in making the right decision. Meaning that, well, are you able to not use marijuana during this trial? I'm going to order you not to use marijuana during this trial. Are you going to be able to follow that instruction? Yes. And so if I give you that instruction and you follow it, you're not going to be having an issue. Correct. Yeah. When was the last time you used marijuana? Last night. Okay. How often do you use it per day? Once a day. And I said that I would perhaps order you not to use marijuana during the trial because you said it might affect your judgment. Would that be hard for you given how often you use it? Yes, it would be. Yep. He was eventually excused for cause.
What?
Then the next juror walks in, and these are not in chronological order, but the door opens, the juror walks in, and he appears to be a middle-aged white man. But if he were Korean, this is a crazy statement. If he were Korean, I could see him kimchi squatting behind a convenience store and eating a roll of kimbap. That's the energy he gives me. Not smoking a cigarette because he's got children and a wife and kids that don't like the smell. That's the aura he gives me in my personal brain. He says, I admittedly don't read pop culture news. My wife makes fun of me for that. I have heard a few headlines, few accusations, just as a father of 2 young kids. You know, some of the accusations are troubling. The judge asks if he's going to be able to not have discussions about this case with his wife, who is on social media a lot. He says, absolutely. Okay, so then just on the form, why did you say that you had a reservation or concern about whether you're going to be able to follow these instructions? My wife, she watches Sunset, TMZ. Like, that's what she loves. And so I assume this case is going to be all over that, since she's a follower of that type of content, and that is a little concerning to me. But he does say she's a fan. She does her own thing. I'm not around. I'm not going to go looking in her phone. If I can tell her topics that she cannot show me, she will listen to that. Has your wife spoken to you about this case or this defendant? I guess a few months ago. Okay, what was the conversation? Oh my God, P. Diddy, these terrible parties. He's in trouble. Did he do it? He did it. Did he do it?
No freaking
Yeah.
way.
And he was pretty okay. So a lot of the jurors, you can tell they're very soft spoken into the mic.
Yeah.
He's like, OMG.
How far are they from Diddy, like in terms of distance?
2 rows of desks, 3 rows of desks. It's 2 rows of desks. Yeah, like 3 rows of desks and then Diddy.
So like super close.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have to walk. So there's 2 doors. One Diddy comes out of, the other one the jurors come out of. And he has to walk. They have to walk by Diddy to sit next to the judge and then walk out right in front. Did your wife express a view, her own opinion about this case? No. And did you express an opinion about this case? Oh my God, that's a pretty big accusation. He was excused from the case. The next juror walks up to the stand. He reminds me, and this is personal, but he gives me bowling dad vibes. Like this man in my alternate universe in my head, I feel like he owns a collection of bowling balls and he bowls on the weekends.
Is there anyone who doesn't know Diddy from this all these people, or
it doesn't appear that
so
way.
Most of them, they all know what's going on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he says he's unsure if he can be fair and impartial because the lifestyle bias, And when he's asked to elaborate further, he says, just the reputation that might be someone in that field. What do you mean by that? What field are you referring to? The music LA lifestyle, it's very much different than the way I was brought up. What's your perception of how it was different? Fast and loose. He also says that he saw the video of Diddy and Cassie in the hotel. However, even though he saw it, he can be unbiased. He describes it as, well, you can't unring a bell. What does that mean? You can't unring the bell. I can't unhear something that I've heard, but I can separate that from what's presented here. He does appear to be pretty honest in his answers. Like even, it seems like he's very genuine. Like he's not trying to be like, yeah, no, I'm unbiased. It seems like he's being very thoughtful. If I'm not mistaken, the defense did not want him on the jury. So after every juror leaves in the individual questioning, the defense and the prosecutors have a moment to bring up an application for striking that jury. And then the judge will either strike them or hold off or bring them back in for further questioning, or they'll be like, as of right now, no. The defense did try to strike him. They really did not like the can't unring the bell comment.
And was he excused?
He was not.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think he was being honest. I mean, there's no one that hasn't seen something about Diddy. A lot of jurors were excused for either lack of English comprehension or just financial hardship due to the schedule. It's 8 weeks. It's 8 weeks. You have to take off work. If you work by commission, if you have your own business, I mean, that's going to run you into bankruptcy. So a lot of them were excused for that. Now, this judge is asking a female juror about her ability to take off work. He asks, and where do you work? HBO. HBO. And what do you do for HBO? I'm a photo producer. Which, side note, photo producer means she helps with hiring, securing the location, getting the actors to there, getting the right attire, costumes, getting catering, hiring the photographer, and then they take the pictures for the advertisements that we see on the billboards. She later states that she recently worked with The Last of Us, White Lotus, Thailand, the one Lisa is on, and the judge asks her, okay, and in the course of working for HBO, have you done any work or have there been projects related to any allegations in this case? No. Later, the judge asks her, okay, now what have you heard or read about this case prior to today? Just because I work in entertainment, I'm somewhat familiar. I've seen the video, I've read a few headlines and articles, but I haven't done like a deep dive into it. Has anything been discussed in your presence at HBO concerning Mr. Combs? Not officially, but I would say yes, in hallway water cooler talk. What was the water cooler talk? Just that there's a case and he was arrested and he's in jail. Later, when the juror leaves the courtroom, I mean, Mark is on this, okay? The defense, they don't want her on the jury.
Really?
He says there are 2 areas of concern. HBO has a documentary, a very negative documentary about Mr. Combs in the context of this case. Now, she didn't say she knew anything about it, and we have to accept her answers, I suppose. And so that just gives us great concern. I mean, she works for a company that actually put out a documentary that, I think objectively speaking, is a very negative documentary. The judge asks the defense, what is the documentary?
Wow.
Mark looks over at Tenny. She looks at him. Diddy leans behind Tenny and gets Mark to lean down and whispers to him. And Mark stands up straight again. It's called The Fall of Diddy.
Are you saying Diddy told them the name?
Yeah.
So,
Damn.
Okay, so they know the documentary. They don't know the name. Diddy lean in and say,
The Fall of Diddy.
The Fall of Diddy.
Yeah. She was not excused that day. She was excused the next day. Now, there are lots of overlap in this case. It's not even just overlap of everyone has seen some news or some articles, some headlines, but there's a lot of personal overlaps as well. One juror walks in and they are enrolled at City College, which if we're trying to make everything a connection, I guess that would be a connection to the City College crowd crush. One juror walks into the courtroom. He tells the judge, I got to change one of my answers to the questions. He says, my wife, turns out probably about 30 years ago, served as a lawyer in a case. I don't even remember. I think she was involved in taking depositions, and it was a case that involved Mr. Combs. So she was a lawyer for someone involved in the City College crowd crush incident. It was a case involving, do you know how or what the judge is asking the juror? My understanding is that Mr. Combs was a promoter of a concert and something went wrong. There was a riot or, a stampede at the door and some people lost their lives, and there was, discussion about, his liability, I believe. The judge later asks, all right, and has she ever expressed to you any negative opinions about Mr. Combs that you can remember at this point, 30 years later? In taking the depositions and just research, she, did not have a positive opinion of him. And what's crazier is he didn't even tell his wife that he was serving on the jury for Diddy's case. He says he went home and his wife was like, hey, what case are you doing jury duty for? And I didn't tell her. But he says, this case was all over the news though, and it's a big case. The day after that, he's like, my wife came back and her colleague, the wife of this colleague, is also in the jury pool. And was like, hey, I saw, the person you work with. She comes home to her husband and is like, hey, I saw
So wife's colleague's partner.
Yes.
Is also in the, and they just told, that is crazy.
So then the judge is like, okay, got it. So then your wife came to you and said, I was in this case a long time ago. And then he's like, yeah, when I filled out the questionnaire, I had no recollection of it. I would not want her participation to come out at some point in the future and me not have revealed it. No, you did absolutely the right thing. So he's saying that was 30 years ago. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And then, my wife was like, hey, my colleague's wife saw you at jury duty for the Diddy case.
What?
Yeah, he was excused. Yeah. And then there's just a lot of other random, slightly awkward, interesting moments. Another overlap. When one juror walks in, he instantly is like, they're giggling. The judge and the juror are giggling. They used to work together at a massive law firm.
What?
So he was excused. And another juror, there's a very awkward moment where he goes up and he is questioned and he states that his occupation is working at MDC Brooklyn, the very jail that Diddy is being held at.
So any of these personal connections between anybody is a reason for them to be excused?
Typically, but it really depends on how strong the connection is. I did notice something, and I don't know if it's a coincidence. It could be a coincidence, but a lot of the jurors came up onto the stand, and one of the pieces of media that they say they saw before being called to jury duty is the hotel footage of Diddy and Cassie. And sometimes they will describe it. Sometimes the judge will read out what they wrote about the hotel footage in their questionnaire. But if it's brought up with a little more description, Diddy appears to me to be shaking his head no slightly. It happened multiple times. And every time the hotel footage came up, I would be locked in. I would be staring at Diddy. And often, again, he would just kind of shake his head no. So one juror is asked, do you remember what that still image was that you were referring to? So he just saw a screenshot of it. It seemed to have been in a hotel hallway, and the still image was of a woman on the floor and, can I say, Mr. Combs standing. Now, the judge points out in the questionnaire, she wrote that it could be damning evidence. And she said, I guess I don't know how else to say it. It didn't seem to be what a person would want to be experiencing. I don't know how else to phrase it. Another juror describes the hotel footage, and this is when they're questioned. A video in the hallway that was dragging a person over the hallway. And Diddy would kind of shake his head no. Later, the same juror states they saw, quote, parties, and there were headlines in the news, parties, and there were different situations with people who were very uncomfortable after certain periods of time, and they feel like they were drugged, put something in their drinks, and then they remember, and then there were situations that people were abused, that they were taken advantage of. One juror describes the hotel video as, I saw the video of Mr. Combs and this person. I seen a video of Mr. Combs, and it seems like this person was in the video and harm was being done to her in the video. Another says, the defendant was shown I don't know how to describe. I think he was outside an elevator in a common hallway of a hotel. I think he just had on a towel or bathrobe on. And there was a woman. He went to get her. She ended up on the ground.
Wow.
Another juror described seeing the hotel footage as, quote, pretty much in my opinion, mostly everybody saw the video of the defendant, and I believe it was his ex-girlfriend in the hallway of the hotel. Another juror responds about what they saw prior to this. Again, the hotel footage. Yeah, it's what I remember from the news. And seeing those reports, did that lead you to form an opinion as to Mr. Combs' guilt or innocence? No, it didn't lead me to form an opinion. I was basically just watching it and was taken aback or shocked. And why were you taken aback? Because it was just seeing it was a tad disturbing. I didn't have all the facts. I don't know. The scene itself was unfortunate. That's what I meant. Other notably awkward moments, which again, this might just be my perception of things. The judge because the judge has to verify. It's not like the judge is doing this intentionally. He's doing everything to the letter of the law. He's reading out some of the jurors' responses to the questionnaires. It feels like when you talk bad about someone and then it gets repeated in front of them. The judge is reading, you said that P. Diddy has a lot of money to use at his discretion, possibly buy his way out of jail. What did you mean by that? I mean, I don't know how else to explain that. On the same note, another instance, the judge reads out another part of the questionnaire of another juror and reads out the repeating playing of the hotel video of incidents above and media gives the appearance of an angry, hostile person who is entitled.
So judge is reading these out loud.
And it's just like, can you clarify?
In front of Diddy. And do you feel like they're...
I feel like, okay, so I was trying to watch both. Diddy's actually more deadpan during these moments. It's usually the hotel footage that seems to get a little head shake no.
It gets something out of him.
Yeah, otherwise people are like, yeah, I saw the headlines, I saw this. My wife was like, did he do it? Did he not? OMG. Not much. It's kind of just deadpan. But I will say the jurors look slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now, speaking with another juror, the judge reads, just to remind you, the question about have you read, seen, or heard anything about this case? And the last sentence here is, well, I'll just read the entire answer. You said, I know through the media that Sean Combs is accused of illegal activities related to human trafficking and extortion. I understand that a producer of his alleges that Mr. Combs may have forced him into sexual relations that were non-consensual, and that Mr. Combs was also accused of engaging in sex with underage participants against their will. Where did you get that information? With this one, Diddy, I perceived a little head shake no. Yeah. I do think that it's been a very depressing week. I know a lot of news headlines were pointing it out, but the amount of women and even men that were on the stand for further questioning. Now, because Diddy is accused of SA crimes, they have to ask, like, have you been SA'd? Because it could form a bias that they need to at least know about. It doesn't automatically disqualify someone, but it's just something that they need to know. The amount of people that have been SA'd in their lifetime, it just is like one after another, after another. One older juror states, the situation was a dentist that my parents had gone to and they didn't pay them. And they ended up sending me there and I ended up working for them for that. It was a very blurry authority versus a person who is not paying for their dental bill. I developed confusion about obligations, about authority, which... You know, I went to a lot of, I guess you could call it therapy about it to become more alert and more aware of boundaries around these types of situations. She was molested by the dentist. This happened in the 70s. Another juror reports that they were SA'd by family members when they were like 8 years old. Another was SA'd during college by a neighbor. Another, their daughter was SA'd. Another was, there was attempted SA by a random person on the street. And the most depressing part of it is not even just the sheer amount of people that have those traumatic life experiences, is the fact that a lot of them do report that they didn't go to the police about it. I mean, they don't go further into it, but you can imagine, it's just, what are the police gonna do? That's the feeling. One Marine vet, he came out, he looked like a sports dad. So I was trying to understand the vibe, such a weird word, of each juror as they came out for individual questioning. He looked like a sports dad. He looked kind of buff. He's a Marine veteran. His wife was also in the Marines. And he tells the judge, my wife was a uniformed victim advocate in the Marine Corps in South Carolina. She's in the Marine Corps. We both were. And he admits, yes, potentially, I would be biased in this towards an alleged victim. And the judge excuses him for cause, thanks him for his service, and thanks him for being there. But it was a very interesting moment of having a very buff, statured guy walk up there, a Marine vet, and in front of Diddy say, yeah, I'm going to be biased towards the victim. There were a lot of people who have had experiences with DV. One juror states that their sister was a victim of DV. Another had friends that were ultimately deceased from DV. It's just like back to back to back. Another juror, she seemed, at least in my opinion, traumatized by even having to answer the jury duty questionnaire. She was asked why she wrote no on the questionnaire about seeing Diddy on TV, and then later took it back and said, I actually did see him. And she said, because I'd been through all those things before, so I didn't want to talk about it. You said that you had been through those things. What do you mean? What I mean is I've been traumatized. It was in a war. It was a lot of things. She was older. It was lots of things. We went through this when I was there. She was excused. So a lot of the testimonies were just, not testimonies, but questionings were incredibly raw.
She was excused because she lied. Yeah, see, that's, dude. I'm sorry, man. I had to stop it and say something. Sometimes the weak stuff, I let it slide. But what I'm trying to say to you all is, listen, man, you lied. In the court of law, if you lying and not telling the truth, you should be punished in some type of way. That's the number one thing we need to do, is stop people from lying. Stop the bull. Stop the actors. You're going to sit here, listen to this. Listen to this.
I didn't want to talk about it.
If you didn't want to talk about it, you should have said that. You should have put that on the paper. Look, I'm messed up, but I don't want to talk about it. But not lie. You just straight up lie.
About seeing Diddy on TV.
Look.
Ultimately,
watch this.
Deceased from DV. It's just like back to back to back. Another juror, she seemed, at least in my opinion, traumatized by even having to answer the jury duty questionnaire. She was asked why she wrote no on the questionnaire about seeing Diddy on TV, and then later took it back and said, I actually did see him. And she said, because I'd been through all those things before, so I didn't want to talk about it. You said that you had been through those things. What do you mean? What I mean is I've been traumatized. It was in a war. It was a lot of things. She was older.
So when you saw that question, basically, right when you saw that question, to get out of it or get around this, you decided to lie. Lie. See, that one word will fix everything. If we can stop everybody from lying, if we can stop people from lying, that will fix a lot of things in this world. Think about that. That's the part. I try to be a positive, happy, fun person. I don't want to hurt nobody in this world. I swear God has blessed me with not wanting to hurt nobody. I don't want to aura nobody. I ain't attracted to no little kids, and I thank God for that. I don't find boys attractive. Ew. I don't find men attractive. Ew. I don't like coconut. Ew. It's what I like. What God put into my body and say what I like and what I don't like. I like to see people happy. I like to see people progress. I like to see people raised up. Hello. That's what I like. Now, what you see in me, I don't give a shit what you see in me. I don't care. Because I'm so busy liking the world. But when you lie, that's where the problem starts. And you lied. So we need to take her don't put her on the jury, but we need to take her to the side. And I'm not saying put her under the jail. She don't need to be under the jail, but she need to be talked to. And say, look here, Miss been raped and don't understand stuff. Stop lying. All you got to do is tell the truth, and we will be with you. That's it, man. Can y'all get with that? Maybe y'all can't get with that. if people will stop acting like they somebody different, I'm gonna act like I ain't never been raped before, and you have. Own up to it. You've been raped. I'm sorry, you can't use the word I've been raped. Come on, man. But you're gonna sit there and lie.
I didn't want to talk about it. You said that you
didn't
had
wanna
been
talk
through
about
those
it.
things. What do you mean? What I mean is I've been traumatized. It was in a war. It was a
Yes.
lot of things. She was older. It was lots of things. We went through this when I was there.
You
She
should
was
have known
excused.
better if you
So a
owned
lot
it.
of the testimonies were just, not testimonies, but questionings were incredibly raw and difficult to get through. There were a lot of medical concerns, a lot of people that were very sick. One woman, she has ocular migraine, so she needs to take breaks, put her hands above her eyes and rest for her vision to come back. Another juror has 7 stents in their heart and has to take medications that would make it nearly impossible for them to come here and serve on the jury every day. And I think the very jolting part about watching and listening to the jury selection questions is I feel like we meet a lot of people in our daily lives, but to have everyone's life encapsulated in a 10-minute, like they go through their most traumatic moments, they explain their job, their occupation, they talk about other random facts like my cousin is a law enforcement officer. I have a degree in psychology. So it feels like you get a very deep snapshot, not just of like the pretty resume, but like all of the aspects of what makes someone who they are in 10 minutes. And it also is just depressing after depressing after depressing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this next incident became, I guess, a more funny moment in court. Although I don't think it's funny. I think just everything is so depressing. A slightly older woman walks into the courtroom, a juror, and at least from my impression from the other side of the courtroom, she appears very timid in her body language.
Like how old is she?
50, 60.
Okay.
She sits down next to the judge. She's one of the dozens of jurors that's going to be questioned. The judge says in question 9B, the question was, would you be able to listen to and discuss matters of a sexual nature with fellow jurors? And your answer to that was no. And you gave a reason for it. And is it okay if I ask you about that while you're sitting here? Sure. Her voice is like, sure, like kind of shaky. What was the reason for your no answer?
Yeah.
I'm a very, shakes again. It sounds like her voice is breaking. I'm a very sensitive person and I could faint or black out. When I was in junior high school during the health education class, the teacher brought up, well, it shouldn't have been, but they brought up blowjobs and I actually fainted. And the teacher and everybody surrounded me and said, what's going on here? And I was so embarrassed, I said I fell asleep when I didn't. And so I feel that if I were to come into mental contact with something similar, I wouldn't be able to speak coherently and I wouldn't be a good juror. She is excused. I think that was a very notable moment in the courtroom. An older woman was asked about how she responded to a question if she could be fair and impartial. And she says that she does have a level of anxiety about the idea of being on the jury. She says, it's very unfamiliar situation, I guess. It's not very familiar. It's unfamiliar. It's an unfamiliar environment, and I'm not used to being listened to intently and to having my answers matter very much.
Wow.
In question
Wow,
9, you were asked if
that's
there's anything
crazy.
in the nature of evidence or graphic videos and photographs, including videos of physical violence, that would make it difficult for you to be fair and impartial. You said no, but you answered, I cannot predict my response and what the images will be. What did you mean by that? I've seen people die in front of me. Like I watched somebody get run over by a train. There have been a few other situations in my life. I've seen horrible things actually happen and I was okay with it. Not okay with it, but it didn't become a second problem. When something utterly horrible happens in front of me, I tend to shut down or just kind of call 911 or anything like that. But I guess in a video, it's detached. So she's saying like, she's not 100% confident, but she assumes she'd be fine. Another juror raises concerns. You know, the only thing that I was input in the prior question is that to me, you have the life of somebody on your hands. So to me, this is a very difficult part.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I can do it, but it's something that I have to be very sure that that person, you know.
Yeah.
I will say that the media is reporting a lot of jurors just didn't want to be there and didn't want to serve. I actually didn't necessarily get that being in the courtroom. I think the transcripts do kind of read that way. I'm sure a lot of them just looked annoyed to be in jury duty, but they didn't It wasn't like they were coming up with a million excuses to try and leave. They just seemed kind of like, I don't know if I can do 8 weeks because I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to have financial hardship. Like, I can't. A lot of people seemed relatively neutral, if not like, oh, yeah, I mean, I guess jury duty, right? But there was one juror where I felt, I'm like, I don't think this woman wants to be here at all. She walks in and she tells the judge she has a new scheduling conflict. Her son is graduating high school and she wants to be there. It's the second week of June. Trial is supposed to go into July. The judge starts asking her, what day? I don't recall. On a Friday? I don't remember. Okay, what time of day is it? It starts, I think, around 10 or 12. And you don't know the day, like it's a Wednesday, Thursday. I don't recall. Which week is it? I can't say. I don't remember. Okay, well, you clearly thought about this after you did your questionnaire, but you didn't go look to see what the date was or what the time was or any of the details of the event? Well, I rely on my son to tell me these things, and he didn't yet. He says he didn't know it himself yet. But I remember when my first one was graduating, it was around this time. All right, where does your son go to school? Like, where is it? In the city? It's in Westchester. They move on, and the judge asks her if there's anything else she needs to change from her questionnaire. She says, I think there was. I don't know. So there were questions about violence and graphic. Yes. Images and stuff like that. So I don't think I can do that. Why? I'm battling depression right now, and I don't think that's going to help in my recovery. Which, side note, this is not me insinuating. Like, I think that's a very real thing. But then the next part, the judge says, all right, so in your questionnaire, why did you say that you did not have a problem looking at that type of material? I don't know. I was overwhelmed. I didn't realize. I didn't know about the case at all. All right. Anything further that you wanted to change in your questionnaire? I didn't know about the case then. Now I do. What did you see? It was music. It was a song that I heard about the case. How did you come upon hearing this song? It was on like a Russian comedy channel. She does get excused for cause. I did find the Russian comedy channel.
Wait, what?
It's just like a SNL skit vibe of P. Diddy.
Oh my God.
So she's like, yeah, I saw that now.
Oh.
It did seem like she wanted to get out of it. Maybe she wanted to get out, at least to me. Maybe she wanted to get out of it because it's too much, too intense mentally, and she was just looking for any reason. I think that could be the case.
Okay.
One thing that I do think is very interesting, and I don't even think there's any sort of measure that we'll have at the end of the trial for this. There were moments, and I was talking to my researchers, so it's not just me. There were moments where it's like in the back of your mind, right? I felt like I made eye contact with Diddy. And of course, like there's other things I'm thinking about. I'm taking my notes. But then in the back of my mind, like once or twice, it's like, oh yeah, this guy is famous. Like it's just like a thing. Like, cause you see him on TV, you see him on screens, you hear people talk about him. And then it's a reminder of like, oh, whoa, this is the same person in the courtroom. These are the same people, right? Now, I don't know. I think it would be interesting to psychologically study the jurors for that. I don't think they can, but you get what I'm saying of during individual questioning of the jurors, there are so many times where it looks like Diddy is trying so hard to connect with them. Maybe he just likes to connect with people. Maybe it's for his case. He would seemingly sympathetically nod his head as jurors talk about hardships that they go through, or if a juror has an awkwardly cute or funny moment, he would sometimes smile. I mean, it's not like a big toothy grin, but he's smiling. So for example, one juror is asked if she knows any people on the peoples and places list, and she says, I don't, but I wish I did. And he's smiling at her.
Can you explain the peoples and places list?
Okay, so there are a list of like over 100 people and places that the jurors, this is not public information, everyone on that list. The jurors have to go through and they have to tell the judge if they personally know any people or places on these lists. I'm going to go into who they are. When the group questioning takes place, at least on the second day of jury selection, Diddy pivots his chair. So the jurors come and they all sit down in the front of the courtroom on the right side. So now they're like directly in front of us because we're on the right side. And they're facing left. So we see their side profiles. Diddy sees, like, if he twists, he'll see all of their faces. And it's tiered, so it's rows. And he's just giving them undivided attention. So they have a mic and they go one by one and they rapid fire. Like, I'm 34, this is where I work. They have to answer a list of questions that they're given. And then they pass the mic and the next person and the next person. At points, he's craning his neck to get a better look at the jurors while they're speaking. When someone makes a joke, he genuinely giggles like they're at a dinner party. And I'm like, I was just thinking in that moment, and I think this is unrelated, but how does that affect jurors? Because at the end of the day, I think psychologically humans are somewhat drawn to people that are perhaps famous.
In a way, he's giving them this attention, right? Does that like psychologically
Play
influence?
anything? Yes, because...
And then I guess also like the whole thing is they're supposed to be non-biased.
Yes.
They trying to not to judge him innocent
Yes.
until proven guilty. And then he's here being a really good sport, charming, who's laughing at their jokes, devoting his attention to them. Does that change
Yes.
their view of Diddy?
And I know...
That's a good question right there. I think that Diddy I think Diddy is trying to read into people's souls, all that spiritual stuff he been into, all that, you know, all that candle and spiritual and woosah, all that stuff. He trying to get into they soul and they mind and all that, all, you know. Y'all know what I'm saying. All that type of, wait a minute, my bad.
A bullshit?
All that.
A bullshit?
All that.
A bullshit.
Diddy trying to do all that.
Bullshit.
He trying to do all that. Yeah, he trying to get all that bull going. Damn, my bad, y'all. When you older, you look. This video is. We got 5 minutes left in the video. I had to go to the bathroom, man. I couldn't wait no more. So I went to the bathroom real quick. Hey, I forgot what we was talking about, man. Here we go.
A bullshit?
No, we weren't talking about that. It ain't time for that. You don't want to overuse my little cousin. That's my little cousin. We look alike. We twins. That's my little cousin. Oh my God, that's my cousin right there, y'all. Here we go. Let's see.
Yes, because...
And then I guess also like the whole thing is they're supposed to be non-biased.
Yes.
They trying to not to judge him innocent
Yes.
until proven guilty. And then he's here being a really good sport, charming, who's laughing at their jokes, devoting his attention to them. Does that change
Yes.
their view of Diddy?
And I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, if I was on that jury, it would not change my view, right? But you wouldn't get to that point.
Yeah,
Because you would have been weeded out if you're biased against Diddy to that level. So coming from like if they're a neutral, unbiased stance, does that even play a role? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's valid. That's a good point.
There is another moment during group questioning where, so they all have to answer if they have adult children where their adult children work. So there's no, I guess, conflict of interest or any bias. One of the jurors states that her daughter retired as an executive from United Healthcare. And my eyes went straight to Mark, and because he and his wife are representing Luigi Mangione. At least from my perspective, it did seem like Kenny and Mark Agnifilo shared a look. It looked like a mental note look. It didn't look panicked. It didn't look crazy. It just was like, oh, but it was interesting nonetheless.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the people and places list. It's just a lengthy list. So far from all of every juror that was, the first day, they didn't ask personally. So every juror that came in was like, yeah, Kanye. And everyone's like, how does everybody know Kanye personally? And then once they're verifying, do you know them personally or you just recognize their name as a celebrity? They're like, okay, yes, I recognize their name as a celebrity. So far, here's the list of people. Number 38 is Chance Combs, which is Diddy's daughter. Christian Combs, Diddy's son. Lorianne Gibson, a choreographer. Kanye West, Michael B. Jordan, which one of the jurors does mistake him for the basketball player. Lauren London, an actress who dated Nipsey Hussle before his passing. Kid Cudi, Mike Myers, the actor and comedian. Aubrey O'Day, Harvey Pierre, that's the...
Man, let's get back to,
Christian Combs, Diddy's son. Lorianne Gibson, a choreographer. Kanye West, Michael B. Jordan, which one of the jurors does mistake him for the basketball player. Lauren London, an actress who dated Nipsey Hussle before his passing. Kid Cudi, Mike Myers.
This dude, the Austin Powell dude, he looked completely different from that movie. Looked like he had reconstruction on his face or something. I mean, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but he just looks so completely different. Wow, he looks so different. I wouldn't even recognize him as Austin Powell.
There's the actor and comedian. Aubrey O'Day, Harvey Pierre, that's the producer. These are people that are like directly related to Diddy, and there's allegations or there's situations. Don Richards, Cassie Ventura, Michelle Williams, the singer from Destiny's Child, Dallas Austin, Young Miami. It's been reported. So the main connection that people are focusing on is Mike Myers, because no one really knows like why. We don't know if the connection is deeper. It doesn't seem like. It's been reported. So the main connection that people are focusing on is Mike Myers.
Wow. Mike Myers. He looks so different now, man. Wow.
Because no one really knows like why. We don't know if the connection is deeper. It doesn't seem like there's a deep connection. And then it's reported that Michael B. Jordan went on a date with Cassie, which Diddy was reportedly upset by, allegedly. And then obviously Kid Cudi, his car was blown up. Allegedly, Diddy blew up his car. And the rest, I imagine a lot of them don't have sinister connections, as some people are making it appear. Like, I don't think this is the Diddy's list that, but I guess we'll find out. So a lot of people are now guessing what's next because opening statements are coming Monday. Some people are commenting, I'm guessing Mark and Tenny are going to focus on the sex trafficking. And then Emily is going to be on drugs and drug use. Brian Steele, the RICO racketeering focus. Nicole Westmoreland will probably concentrate on cross-examining female witnesses. Alexandra Shapiro is this netizen's favorite. She seems to be the expert, but I'm not sure what she and Xavier Donaldson will focus on. That's the netizen comment. And so with that, we just have to wait for Monday for opening statements to start.
So they haven't narrowed down to the 12?
No, and the 6 alternates, not yet. So they're going to do that on Monday, and then opening statements will start right after. So right now there's 45. And at this point, up until this point, every time the defense doesn't want someone on the jury or the prosecutors don't want someone on the jury, they have to tell the judge, I don't want them for this reason. Yep. The judge can disagree. The judge can be like, yeah, your reason is dumb, or no, that doesn't apply. But so they fight it out. Or maybe sometimes they both agree, which in that case, the judge will strike that juror. But now each of them have 6 strikes. They can take out 6 jurors without explanation, without reason.
So 45 minus 6 and 6, that's 12. So 45 minus 12 will be 33 people left after they just knock out 12.
But I do think that there's more questionings too for any potential strikes as well. They just have to narrow down to 12 and then 6 alternates. But I think it'd be interesting to see who they strike out, just because they're like, I don't want to give a reason. It's interesting. So a lot of decisions will be made on Monday, and I will be in the courthouse, and I will be right here right after, and I will see you then.
Wow, this is interesting, man. One of the things I do know is they saying that this trial is going to start Wednesday. That's 3 days. I already got 3 days. I'm saying that this trial going to last for 2 years. They already gave me 3 days. 3 days on top of things, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. I never thought that jury selection would be so crucial. I never thought that jury selection would be some freaking crucial type stuff like this, man. I'm gonna get on up out of here. Y'all let me know in the comments. Shout out to all my comment people, man. Say what's up to Uncle Mike. Let me know if I'm or let me know if I'm look at it. Look. I just learned how to do that, y'all. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.